Hello, Mary, everybody. It's MicheleMarieDalene, and of course, it's Sunday. And today we're just going to kind of just have kind of an informal gathering, nothing major to talk about. I just want to let you know that we indeed will be doing our DLT demonstration. It's going to be shot in a couple segments and will be probably released by the end of this week. So that's coming up. Now, I tried to do a video yesterday in natural light, and what happened was the sun went behind the cloud, and all of a sudden it got too dark in here, and then it looked really kind of underexposed. So I'm going to try again, and this time I tried to make sure I got a good day's sleep. Now, today, we're going to talk about the equipment I use and some of the revelations I had. You see, I think of all the equipment I have in my computer, and there's a lot. I mean, we have 2 Intel-based machines and are still operable. We have, of course, 3 operating Macintoshes, and one Macintosh is also sitting in the closet, kind of operable, just needs a hard drive. And so it really kind of makes it difficult to decide what I'm going to do because of physical space in my apartment is a premium. Now, the DLT drive setup, we were going to test it on the Mac, which we are going to use it on. We also were going to test it on the Intel-based PC, which I can still do. It just turns out that the Intel-based PC doesn't really have a good stable platform to hold a device that is 16 inches wide by 25.5 inches long. So because of that reason, there's always the concern, because the space is only about 8 inches wide, that the DLT autoloader could fall off and break, which would kind of suck, because I don't want it to fall off and break, okay? Also, the second thing is that I don't really use them PCs as much as I used to. The reason is because many years ago, prior to getting my first operating Macintosh, most of my computers were Intel based. Okay, I've had every kind of computer you can imagine, at least a good gamut of the different models from the different eras. I had a leading edge Model D. I had original IBM PC XT. I had an old AT. I had a few clones, a few other compatibles, this and that, and these and the other things. And for the most part, I was an Intel user. I really didn't. I certainly knew about the Macintoshes. I never had the actual honor of getting to play one until much later on. I was using MS-DOS at the time, and for almost everything. I mean, from writing the bulletin boards, such as Planet Marcus Opus, to the dealing with day-by-day operations. I was fairly fluent with Windows 3.1. I have dabbled with Windows 95. I have dabbled with Windows 98. I have dabbled with Windows XP. Okay? And I thought that was okay, but I felt it was kind of limiting at the time. That here I was spending, all this money on this very nice machine, and I really didn't feel I was getting my money's worth as far as the equipment goes, as far as performance. In 1999, I picked up a copy of Linux on CD. It was made by Most Significant Bytes. Was marketing it, and it had Slacker 2.0, it had Debian, it had Red Hat, a few others. I didn't really try the other distros in the CD set. I just went straight to the Slackware 2.0, and that was one I was using for a long time. And then eventually I went to Debian, and I still use Slackware around here too. Well, to make a long story short, then in about I gotta think back now. This has been a long time. 2002. I'm gonna just say that. May have been a little later than that, but 2002, 2003, I was given a Macintosh Performa. It was a 68030 model with a Motorola processor in it. And I had some system software with it and things like that. And I loved it. Okay. And then I also got a Performa Power PC 6115 CD, I think it was. And I love that too. And that was the beginning of the end of my Intel line of work, because everything was migrating to the Mac, from word processing to this video you're seeing is done on the Mac. I've always felt there was a bit of a continuity, and there was a flow, even with macOS 8.6 and 9, which we in System 7, which we don't have with many PC programs. Well, Chris Pearl may point out that the PC line does have the advantage that there's a lot more options available as far as Windows is kind of a sort of open thing. As long as you got the driver, you can let the card, you plug the card in, and you're all set to go. For the most part, the Macintosh has always been kind of my favorite, because it just seems to have this kind of cohesiveness to the environment that I kind of like. But to be honest, there is something Apple does do, especially for tape owners, that basically makes me ready to go apeshit. Okay, but I will save the apeshit hysteria to maybe some other day. One of the things with Apple is we're going to put into our operating system what we think you need. Anything else, you can go suck eggs. I mean, for example, they use BSD, right? That's what it's Darwin. That's what OS 10 is based on. Yet they took out the standard SCSI tape support, so that there's no longer support for SCSI tape built into the machine. So now you have to go looking for these kernel extensions, drivers, to add SCSI tape back into the machine, and that's what makes it really difficult, because all these companies are going like, oh, yeah, that's retail. It's going to cost you $495. Ka-ching! What? Why? Because that's what we do for a living. We sell tape backup system, software called BRU, backup and restore. Somebody come in and makes it. And I was like, you want me to pay $495 to have something on my Macintosh that's standard Debian and FreeBSD, and that BSD, as far as I know, get by default? So you want me to pay to add back in what you took out? Now, that's about, the biggest problem that we're running into. So trying to find a tape backup software for the Macintosh had been an exercise in futility. Finally, I did find a product that called ES Backup that seemed to be a little more understanding, and offered for individual use free ES Backup desktop. Not to get mixed up with Retrospect. Retrospect is another product that I have seen on eBay. I'm looking into maybe in the future getting this. Retrospect 6.1 is available. I couldn't find 8.1 to back up my use that on my Macintosh as well. I got a couple different options I found. Of course, since I also have Debian in my PowerPC, I can also you run the standard SCSI utilities such as the MT command, the MTX, which means for media tape exchange, which is designed to deal with changers, and an autoloader such as mine, and then I can probably recompile Amanda 3.35 for the PowerPC processor, and because I understand what kind of software it needs, so I just have to go ahead and take a look at the software needs for Amanda and put it together. There's a lot of neat stuff out there in the computer world, but unfortunately the companies keep coming up with all kinds of excuses. But originally we're talking about physical space, so let's get back to that, and then I think you'll understand what I'm getting at. Like I said, there is a space crunch in here. There always has been. Part of the problem is that I don't have very many tables. I don't have any shelves that are mounted on the wall to store knickknacks, goodies, and things like that. And because of that reason, everything kind of gets put on the floor, including me. When I'm sitting at the computer or I'm sitting at my server, which is the Intel-based machine, which is the Frankenstein PC you saw, I'm always, in the normal applications, I'm always sitting on the floor to use it. So for me, I was trying to figure out is how can I use that in a more comfortable situation. Only to find that I really didn't know the answer, because it just gets a little confusing overall. So in this week we will be trying the new DLT equipment on both computers, more than likely. The Amanda on the Intel machine is already set up for it, as far as configuration goes. Originally it was set for a single loader, or a single use drive, which I didn't buy. I might buy one anyway, but I don't like a black bezel on the case that has all white drives. It's gonna look kind of ugly. So, and that's another thing. I'm very, very, very picky about the way things look. I do not. My case is white. When you clean off all the dust and crap and stuff, you see that my Intel Frankenstein machine is white or very light gray. And so for me to put a black drive in that machine when all the other drives are white and beige, actually they're all white, makes it look really, really jarring. And then I was like, oh my god, I don't like the inconsistency. I hate inconsistency. So unless I can find maybe an HP DLT VS80 branded drive, which is gray, I probably am not going to put a VS80 internal into that computer, because it just looks too funky. The Macintosh is less of a concern, because the only internal drive that you really have for space is the DVD burner, which is got a 5 1/4 inch half height bay. I'm sure VS80 would fit in there, but the tape cartridges will not. I got the cleaning cartridge today, I'll tell you this much, and it is a large enough cartridge that trying to figure out how to cram a VS80 cleaning or DLT tape drive into a Power Mac G5 internal bay would be an exercise in futility. And I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I would say is being able to successfully execute the option would be a problem. Also, of course, the fact is that the DVD's door loader operation mechanism works based on a whole different approach to opening and closing the door. So if you try to put a tape drive cartridge into it, you're going to run into nothing but nasty surprises. Although if somebody could try it, I wouldn't want to go there. Now, since I use the Macintosh for most everything, it was make sense to me. He says, well, gee, what am I really using a PC for? Nothing, really. Playing music? That's all it. I put my MP3s on it. Big freaking deal. I can do the same thing on a Macintosh using either iTunes, or I can do it in Linux using MP3 Blaster, or if I can ever figure out how to make it work, I can do it in console using MP3 Blaster. The program compiled easy, but unfortunately I can't figure out how to pass the function keys natively to the application so that the system doesn't stop borking up my F1 key, which lets me jump between modes on MP3 Blaster. That's about the only thing I really find annoying as hell. Other software usually works pretty good. Amarok. Okay, I don't really know much about Amarok. I've got it, but I didn't got into it too much. And a few other programs. So the point is, we have two PCs that are not one of them is disconnected right now because, let's be honest, I don't need it. Okay, it's a Pentium 200 MMX machine. It's got OIDE hard drives in it. The thing is slower than constipated poop. I mean, really slow as far as disk access. It's because it's using ATA33, and it's really, really quite terrible. I didn't really notice how slow it was because for Aeons I was using with SCSI, and so I never really paid it much thought. But I can tell you, with only IDE drives on it, the thing sucks. Sure, I can get an aftermarket ATA 100 controller for it, but for a computer with only 512 megabytes of RAM, 200 megahertz processor, what's the point? It's stupid. The other machine works really well. It's got 1.8 gigahertz Pentium. I think it's a Pentium 4 processor in it. And it's got 1 gigabyte of RAM. It's sweet. It runs good. But I haven't really been using it. So it just sits there and just consumes electricity. And so I was like, because my whole life in the last years has always been kind of a process of trying to minimize. Get rid of the crap. Get rid of the garbage. Start over. Start fresh. Get only what you need. Get rid of the other crap. That's kind of what my life has been for the last few years. So I went from having as many as 10 computers in this apartment to having 1, maybe 2, running at once. And that's pretty much a big change. Second of all, I really kind of do like the consistency of Mac OS 10, and so I do kind of like using that product in my home because it makes my life a lot easier for doing things. But Debian's fine too. But the fact is that it's true that as long as you're working with the Mac tools, such as Mac's configuration tools, everything's pretty good. When you actually look under the hood and you see that the hierarchy of the hard drive is a strange and kind of confusing mass of pieces that don't seem to make any sense. Well, that's just the way Apple did it. I mean, for example, we would never set up on a Linux system a library sitting like this, like they do under OS 10, sitting straight at underneath the root, and it has configurations and stuff like that. That would go in etc., not in library. Even if you look at the library module structure under Linux, You don't want one file you might see in there is dep mod. You may not see even much more than that, other than obviously all the drivers. So it's just a really kind of a strange hierarchy. But for my uses, I'm thinking more and more we're going to stick with the PowerMax G5 with the tape drive, because there's another reason. We can place this the tape loader underneath the SCSI scanner. Why not? Its scanner is actually physically just a little smaller than the DLT drive, and it's also the table is just a tiny smidgen smaller than the DLT drive, but it will definitely support it very well. And I got a couple different cables, so we're going to try it with. I want to see, according to the Dell, it says that it needs to be high byte terminated. Well, I tried a couple days doing an experiment by plugging it into my scanner. So I plugged it first. I had the scanner plugged in, and then I plugged the tape drive in. Or I didn't have a tape drive. I had my disk drive assembly, and that came with a built-in regular high 16-bit terminator in the end. So I said, okay. So now technically there should be proper termination because, well, no, it wasn't, because the other end of the cable wasn't high byte terminated. So when I booted up the system, the system got really upset with me and started saying things about parity errors and everything else, because it wasn't properly terminated on both ends of the cable. So that's what you gotta watch out for. So I'm gonna try a couple different ideas and see how it works. The idea is that both the drive is slow enough that it might still work fine. Also, the other thing is I noticed is that according to some specifications I read, it said that LVD SCSI allows for a variety of mixed of topology and bus speeds. I have no idea how that would work unless there was a standardized the higher level plane of SCSI initiation and handshaking. So I'll have to check that out too. And I did buy a cable for that, but that won't be here until Wednesday. Actually, maybe Thursday. So that would be, for right now, that would be a later on project. For right now, I got a full 68-pin cable I can plug in. I'll have to connect it to the internal 68-pin port on the card instead of the VHDCI, which the other cable's for, because I don't have the VHDCI cable yet. So I'll be just quick. We said, well, when I want to have 12 feet of SCSI cable laying behind my printer behind the system port. So that was the cheapest deal I could get. It was a 12-foot 68-pin to VHDCI cable that I could find for $10, which I thought was a good price. It's 12 feet long, though. I mean, honestly, what am I going to do with a 12-foot long cable? Well, I'll leave that up for your imagination. So anyway, like I said, I'm thinking that we're going to probably consider doing what I originally was going to do, which was to phase out the Intel line processor machines here, because I don't really need them. I really don't. It just takes a lot of space. By the way, it's going to be mild, or getting to be more mild, in the next couple of days. It's not going to be really spicy hot. So it's going to be in the low, or actually low to mid 20s, and then it will probably be pretty nice for most people. So, and then of course right now we got the air conditioner on. That's only because it does get warm in here with the lights on in the studio. And so, it makes it easier. So coming up in a couple of days, you're going to be seeing the DLT demonstration, and then we're going to talk about other things as well regarding DLT tapes. After I test out my ideas, I want to make sure to test out the systems before I open my mouth and say something which turns out to be inaccurate. So that's what we'll do. So we'll test it out, make sure everything works and then we'll see where we go from there. Okay? So until then, until probably later on this week, I will see you soon. Okay? Bye-bye, everybody.